Yay! Get to do it all over again. Okay, so this is a double run. This is the first one looping into the second one, which is due today as well. And the first class is about seeing from the external through the internal into the eternal now. So I'll take you through those steps. This is very experiential. So just allow yourself to really squeeze totally and hold it there and let it go. It's a way of relaxing, letting go of the surface. Yes, so that's what we're doing. Letting go of any ties. We're still aware of the external, but we're not attached to it. So, yeah. Being able to shift inwardly and yet be totally aware, actually even more aware, you may notice. So, the idea is to see through the different layers. The surface, which as we are looking around might be aware of different forms, and we have names for them, and they seem separate because of the labels we have on them, but really everything's part of everything else. But we start to notice that as we go deeper within. So we're going to go deeper so we can actually see the interconnectedness of everything. So at the surface, yeah, just the forms, just the way that we expect and accept things to be. And it's like falling asleep, except you're not asleep, you're wide awake, and just letting your attention drift inwardly. So you're aware of what's going on internally in your body. We'll do the body. So the external of the body, back up again. The external of the body is how we are, how we see ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, and how we touch the external elements, the environment, and just how nice it is to notice. How nice it is to notice how we are seated wherever we are seated, and perhaps how our feet, how they touch the ground or wherever we have them. And this is just a nice acknowledgement of how the external body is. And taking that attention up the legs, into the knees, and noticing how each time we notice a part of the body, it actually relaxes. So it's just nice to notice. And yeah, through the knees, the thighs, the buttocks, the pressure of the body on the chair that it exerts, and just how nice it is to notice. And if you're seated with your back against something, then noticing how the back touches, and where it doesn't, perhaps, the back of wherever you're seated. And coming up through the arms, into the hands, and the fingertips. And just noticing how you can actually feel the air, right? Well, I am, because I've got the window open. And the breeze is flowing through here, which is so lovely. So yes, just becoming really subtly aware of how your body, the external part of your body, touches the environment around you. And just how nice it is to notice. And then from the tips of your fingers back up through the hands, the elbows, upper arms, just aware of them all, the two of them. And coming into the chest area, noticing how the chest tends to rise and fall with the breath. into the belly, into the groin area. Just being aware of parts of your body that you might not necessarily give attention to, and just pulling that attention back up through the body into the neck and around the back of the neck, through the top of the head, into the face. Just noticing how you can be aware of your facial muscles, how the air enters your nose, your eyes, your mouth, chin. So that's the externality of you touching the external environment. And then the internal is allowing yourself to snap into being aware of what's going on inside your body. The internal workings, the internal skeleton of the body. You can do the same thing as you did before, just from the bottoms of your feet, coming up, through the legs. But this time it's just the muscular aspect. You're inside your body, right? Yes, you are. If you're with me, then you are. Okay, so focus internally, and just the bones and the muscles, and you can just imagine where everything is if you're not aware of exactly where things are, as far as the muscles and veins and things like that, and thighs and buttocks, and your skeleton, your backbone, and coming up through the body and into the torso. You might be aware of where your heart is and how it's beating, and your lungs, and your stomach, and your other organs. Just aware. If you're not sure where they all are, just allow yourself to appreciate them anyway. Get a sense of where they may be. And just notice and appreciate. And coming back up over the head again. This time, your skeleton of your head and your brain, and just the inner workings that are present there. And just how nice it is to notice. So that's 2. The inner workings of your body, and whatever part I might have missed, you can go through that yourself. And we're going to go deeper, because just allow yourself to snap to the eternal now. There's a creative intelligence beneath all of that that's orchestrating all of these movements as your body. And just allow yourself to sense it, feel it. You might feel it as an expansion, as light, as energy, whatever image or sensation comes up for you. Just acknowledge it and appreciate it. And this is a way you can actually look all around you. The trees outside are the same way. You may label them and see them differently from other trees, but they all have the same sequential, simultaneous presence. There's the outer form, and then there's the internal workings of the trees, and then there's the ever-present prime directive, as I call it, that's within the form, the tree, the flower, other people, animals. I'm listening to my kitty purr in the background, and yeah, she's got the same sequence. And just how nice it is to notice, and just allow yourself to shift to that eternal now, that presence of yourself that we probably aren't normally aware of, because we tend to think that we're these superficial forms, or how we think, which is in the second internal aspect. But deeper within us, that is what we are. We're that prime directive in expression. So this is the time we take just to notice. So I'll allow you to notice that as I drink of water. And at the depths of you, you may be aware that you can hear everything around you, actually more clearly, precisely, that nothing affects you or at the depths of you. You can just stay in this presence of yourself and yet be aware of all the other things that are going on around you. You can be aware of the internal workings of your body from here. And actually, as you can come from this place more often, as you do that, everything else reorganizes and regenerates and rejuvenates by you being out of the way. Your social constructs of what you are and what you should be doing, when that's out of the way, at your depths, all those other things have a chance to reorganize. And that's really perhaps what happens when we fall asleep, when we go into those deep, deep states. What are we really doing? We're taking our consciousness out of the surface and being aware of what's going on internally and how our thoughts are going off. We're just surrendering to this inner sense. And we know it's there. We might, everybody has their own different experience every night of it, but it's like unplugging from the surface. So we're doing this consciously. So we're taking that time just to notice that there are different ways of perceiving oneself and one's environment around oneself, and just how nice it is to notice. And from here, that's the shift. It's a shift in perception that shifts everything else. So the only thing you ever have to do, need to do, is leave the surface and drop down to your depths. That's what I mean when you might hear me in my riffs on TikTok or on Rhapsodies, on Facebook, or whatever. When I talk about dropping down, that's what I mean. It's like allowing yourself to make that shift in perception, and that allows you to be naturally yourself in the world. Might take practice, but that's what you get to do. That's what I got to do. That's how I noticed the difference. And in turn, for myself, in case you haven't Googled me or listened to The Magic of Healing at the Royal Theatre yet, then do. But that's how I started to explore, inquire, notice the difference. And in turn, what started to happen is my addictions, my ailments, my afflictions, they dissolved. They evaporated on their own because I was giving more attention to this inner presence. It's actually the invincibility of us. And all of these 4 classes will come together and really make sense for you in the last one. So just stay with me. It may seem whimsical and what is she doing? But it all makes sense. It's moving from the surface, past the thoughts that are going off internally. Do you realize we go through between 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day? And most of them are the same ones. And there's no room. So we have to make room between the thoughts. Just allow yourself to drift, just like you do at nighttime. You finally just surrender whatever's going on around you and just drift downwards. I imagine that's what you do. That's what I do. I think that's what we all do somehow. So, as that is comfortable to you, then just allow that to happen for you. And the attachments to the external, they just happen. They detach. Because it's so much more fun to come from the internal, from the eternal now, I should say. And you're out of the time-bound surface. So it actually affects your biology, chemistry, physiology. It affects everything, just that one shift from the external through the internal to the eternal now. And as you allow yourself to be in this eternal now, you may notice an expansion, an extension. You are more than what you think you are. In those thoughts, like, oh my God, I'm isolated, I'm by myself. You know the ones I'm talking about? That constrict, limit, and condition you to thinking that you're an isolated person, an identity as your body in the world. So just notice the different ways you experience it yourself, right? So we've touched on some of those things. So as you watch this over and over and practice this for yourself, you'll start to notice it more. And it's in the practice. It's not about listening to me. Don't listen to me. Do it for yourself so it's your own experience. It's in the experience, your own experience that you know that you know that you know. And nobody can tell you different because you know it. So it's beyond all the facts that people go through at the surface and claim that that's the way things are. You can go, that's just where they're at. And it's all right. People have to come to this at their own time. It's all good. So just allow yourself, you surface up, just allow yourself to go through the layers again, back into the eternal now, because it's always here. Do you realize that no matter what, it's always now? You can't get away from it. That's why it's the eternal now. Because even if you start to think about tomorrow, which is the surface, it'll be now. Or if you think about the past, what happened, where is it happening? It's happening now. But we don't want to get caught up in that because then we're out of being now. Now. Play with this. It's really a lot of fun. And it turns your endorphins on. It changes your chemistry, biochemistry, alchemistry. Yeah. And all of these things are measurable, but you'll know for yourself. So that's the beauty of it. So just allow yourself to stay in that eternal now. And if your eyes are open, which they might be because I didn't tell you to close them, but from the eternal now, just look around you very gently. And just notice how you can see more of the external. You can take more in, you can start to see the interconnectedness of things, of different forms, and how nothing stands alone. But it's from the eternal now that we Really recognize that, realize that. That revelation becomes the reality. Nothing stands alone. Everything's interconnected. And just how nice it is to notice as you stay empowered in your eternal now. And you may hear different sounds around you. People may be talking around you. Your kitty or your aminal might be there in the background. But you receive those sounds and those calls and from a different understanding, a different place. And you don't have to get caught up in them as you tend to do at the external level or the internal. Oh my God, what's going on? So we're bypassing all of that. We're dropping down below. You can still hear them, you can still understand, but you don't have to get caught up. So the practice is to go through the layers, see the external, snap yourself to seeing the internal, or having a sense, like I'm looking at my little shack outside made of wood. Well, okay, there's the planking, and then each plank is what? It's got its energy things going on internally, right? Because everything's energy anyway. It's just condensed form, condensed into form. And then within that is the directive of holding that plank together. So once again, it's present everywhere. Start to see those similarities present everywhere. And it's just a fun way of seeing yourself foremost. And as you do, so you will others. And can you hear my kitty? Here, I'm just going to open her little food dish here. Here, baby. So yeah, so while I do this very comfortably, just allow yourself to experience this little, there you go, honey, experience from your depths. There you go, baby. Yeah, she was waiting for that. It had to happen. It didn't happen before, so it happens while I'm doing this, which is perfectly fine. I hope all of this is recording everywhere. I'm recording it on my iPad as well this time. And yeah, oh my goodness, little big things in seeing how things work. Had to do the same thing with making this work. We'll soon see if I succeeded brilliantly yesterday with my Facebook team help. But you know what? It's looking a little different because I don't have anybody in the room. So we'll soon see. But anyway, I have this anyway, so as a backup for myself, which I'll run anyway, somewhere along the way. So yeah. So as you can start to realize that there's numerous ways of seeing, or at least these 3, 4 ways of seeing from the depths. And you start to realize where your point of power is. You don't have to get caught up in what everybody else is fearing or doubting or excited about. You can just stay in your own inner presence, your own depths. And then hopefully that'll allow them to notice that there's other ways of perceiving. You don't have to say anything, just be in your own depths, your own presence. And you can anchor that, you can clasp your hands when you really feel that depths of you and just go, oh my, wow, this is so cool. And you'll notice that chemistry shifting in your body, and it's perfectly fine. That's what we want. We want a chemical shift. The understanding that creates a chemical shift in your body, because then it elevates you to a different understanding. And you can still go back to the surface and the internal stuff, but it won't be quite the same. That's all I can say. And it's all right. Because we're here to expand, extend into the infinite marvel that we are at our depths. And this is just step one, class one of playfully understanding that prime directive is everywhere, and it's what we are, and we're in the process of bringing that forth as our reality. That's our true self. But that might be going a little too far right now. They'll back up. Okay, somebody wants in, I think, or whatever. Nope. Can't see them, so I'm just going to stay right here with you, centered in my car. And yeah. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and why this is so important to me. Because I realized this like 30 years ago, and it was so subtle and so seamless, like the changes that started to happen. Now I have a better understanding of how that works. There really is a sequence and a structure to all of this. And but it starts with leaving the surface behind. Even temporarily, we always come back to the surface. But the idea, the true idea, is to come from the eternal now. And we can still access, well, as I am, I'm talking to you at the surface as well, right? I'm coming from a different place within myself. When we start to do that within ourselves, we are family, even if it's just a kitty. But I sing to my kitty, I talk to her melodically, and I get a lot better response than Tris. So she's actually my mentor in where I need to come from, and for her to respond and interact and have a synchronicity between us. Yes. So may you find that for yourself. So for myself, 30 years ago, I had all sorts of stuff and going off, and I was able to help other people overcome their ailments and addictions and afflictions, but I couldn't help myself. So I went, oh my God, as powerful as this is, I'm out of sync with myself. I need to do this for myself somehow, find a way. And I surrendered to whatever would come up the next morning at a lakefront property that I was taping at. And I surrendered, and the physical part of it was I dove into the lake. And so those were my ways of surrendering from the surface and just going, whatever comes up in the morning, I'm going to go with that. And then when morning came around, it was very, very visual. This storyline came to me. I call it the Odyssey of Shangri-La, Transcendence. It's gone through a few title changes, but the storyline remains the same because it was a way of seeing through the layers, the surface, the internal, and into the ever-present eternal. And as I did that from different aspects, as the second part of this will address as well, as I did that, I chemically changed, and my ailments and addictions and afflictions dissolved. And I've been through some pretty heavy stuff, had to walk away from everything and virtually everyone, and regroup, restart. Here I am, 20 years after that, and nothing returned. I just kept going further and further into this because it's such a high. It's a natural high. Why would I want to resort to anything else, anything less than that? Because I can do it naturally. And may you be able to do it naturally. That's the idea here. So, 30 years later, and it took actually just in the last few years, I found a fifth script. There's 4 scripts. They're virtually the same, but they're from different levels of perception. And just being able to notice how we see things differently when we're at the external, how we see things differently as we think, from those multitude of thoughts that go through our system, and chemicalize us in staying small, staying separate, right? If I think that somebody's against me, that's the word. As from the depths, it's just the inner knowing, understanding, standing below the surface, realizations, seeing with real eyes, revelations. So it's all this wonderful intuitiveness that comes through, and you can marvel in it, rejoice in it, and as you change chemically, the old behaviors, the ailments, all of those things, they just fall away, they dissolve, because they were just constructs. They were social, cultural, religious, whatever constructs. And they serve the purpose. They're still there. But coming from a different place allows you to come from a different place, interact differently, intuitively, innovatively. So it's just, and the body heals itself naturally. So it's not relying on anything external. Doing this first, and not anticipating anything to change, but just doing this because it's the truth of us. It's the reality of us. And just holding on to it. If you really trust and surrender to this and stay with it, I guarantee you will see shifts in your own life, as I have in mine. And it's all so awesome. And the love that you feel, well, that's pretty awesome too, because it's an infinite love. You can start to appreciate where everybody's at, and just be able to embrace them in consciousness. You don't have to go around embracing everybody, but in consciousness you can embrace all that's going on and all that other people are going through as just part of where they're at this time, in this process of discovering their own inner sense, innocence. That part that's always been there, which is invincible because there's a part of us that's never been touched. And we're here to rediscover that, realize that anything that's gone on internally, has actually been the means for us to discover that and realize the invincibility of that which we are, essentially, in the ever-present now. So, just play with this. It will bring you to yourself, that which you really are. Very cool. That's where the inner music comes from. I virtually don't listen to external music anymore. It's there. I love my son's music. But I allow the music to come through me, so I'm constantly creating, these riffs come through, improv riffs, as you may, if you go, if you Google me on TikTok or Rhapsodies and Rise on Facebook, then you'll find me. And you can do that too, because once you're in touch with that inner music, then you can allow that to come through. You can trust that whatever comes through, comes through. And it's so cool. And it's such a high when it does. And then as you'll notice perhaps, if you should check them out, is I tend to put them together, and they sound incredible. They just happen on their own. I just go through the motions of putting them together and posting them on TikTok. That's where that's where my team is, my tribe. There's still a few that don't have any idea of what I'm about, and that's perfectly fine. The idea is for each to find their own inner music, and if they can do it by appreciating what I do, well, that's pretty cool. But the idea is for everyone to find their own, because we have that. We're made of music. We are resonance. We are vibration. We are frequency. So it allows you to explore those aspects of yourself. So, the eternal now. What's happening for you? And considering I'm doing this rather solo, please do. And you'll be, hopefully this is taping on in my message rooms. I think I got everything going. I didn't have to do anything else. But anyway, just message me and let me know how you're doing, how it's affected, how things are happening for you. That would be awesome. And thank you for partaking of this. I know I've been talking a lot. I normally don't like to talk a lot, but at least I'm talking about stuff I love, so that's okay. So giving yourself the space, the inner space of experiencing the eternal now. That's what we're doing here. And what else? Did I miss something? Let me check. Interconnectedness and interdependence. Everything is working together. There's a dance that's going on. We may notice that from the eternal now. How everything affects everything. The simultaneity of what's going on. Just becoming more sensitive to those aspects. That's really cool. And you're coming from your knowingness. What you think, your opinions, they're just thoughts. Do I really care? No. I don't even care what I think. So I just use it to drop down to what I know. And only in the silence, in the spacious silence, that's only present within your depth, your knowingness will come up. Your answers are there. And they're probably quite different from what you think you know, or what you should be doing at the surface. And that's all right. You realize we're improvising all the time. I'm improvising this, right? I just looked over just to make sure I covered a couple of things, but really, we're improvising all the time. We don't really know what's going to happen next. We think we know, we plan, but how often do things work out as we plan them? And then we get upset because they didn't happen the way we thought. We get annoyed, and all those negative chemicals go through our body, and that keeps us small, and actually dissonance, dis-ease. Yeah, all of those aspects come in. So all you have to go and do is thank that and go, hey, that's where I'm at, and shift to the eternal now. So that you know, and you've always known. We know all the time. It's part of that prime directive of ours. We know, but we're conditioned out of our knowing. It's time for dinner, it's time to do this, it's time to do that, and we're conditioned. All well-meaning fully, but nevertheless, this is a coming back to what we essentially are. Hooray! Oh my God, we can actually be what we essentially are. And yeah, it's the greater consciousness of what's going on. Being able to tap into that and live that and expand in that. And you may notice that your physiology is different. It's more open because there's nothing against you here. Have that experience for yourself. Don't just listen to me. Find out for yourself. Question how it's possible. And then go to the eternal now and to get that realization, that knowingness that's already there within you. So, because I don't want to mess anything up, that's our class 1. First class, going through the levels. So you've come to the realization today that most times we're caught up at the surface, external, time-bound, past, future, thinking about the past, what's going to happen in the future, and we take our own breath away. And this is giving ourselves a breath. The space in between thoughts to drift down. Thank you very much. Past the thoughts, between the thoughts, whatever it takes to drop down into the eternal now. And just come from that place. Stay. And just notice how a thought might creep in saying, oh, but you can do everything from here. I used to drive 140 kilometers a day from this place. Whatever is going on at the surface isn't here in the internal now. But see that for yourself. Prove that for yourself. Check that out for yourself. And I'll catch you in the second round. And I'm just going to turn this one off and turn it back on in a moment. Cheers. Well, actually, no, I won't. Well, yeah, I will. I'll turn this one off. Okay. And hopefully this is recording on Facebook Rims. And if it's not, then I've got you as a backup, right? It's all recording. That was fun with the first class. This is the second class. Shifting from separation to a greater sense of allness to spacious vastness. So that's what we're doing in this class. So where's the separation? It's in how we perceive things. So where's the shift? It's in perception. It's shifting from how we perceive things being separate at the surface, going through the layers like we did, in the first class, But first, just becoming aware of how things are, like we did before, how things are at the surface. And actually, it's probably how we tend to see, because we've been conditioned perhaps just to see things separately. Because there's a greenhouse, there's a tree, there's a shed, and we give them names so that even qualifies them being separate, right? I am, you are, and we identify with these titles, these labels. So we keep things separate. And you're separate from me, and I'm separate from you at the surface. And we alienate each other that way as well. Well, you're over there somewhere, and I'm here, and the two will never meet. Right? So it's just the awareness of how things tend to be separate and how we alienate things. I'm in a room, then there's the outside, and I would have to go through the door. And yet, as we drop down, go, oh, I forgot to do that wonderful exercise. We'll do it right now. Just totally scrunch up and hold your whole body, scrunch up every aspect. Hold it, and then just let it go. That's where it gets it. It allows you to expand and extend. So that's the quick version. And in that, you can start to see differently already if you open your eyes. If your eyes are open, you can start to see how everything's interconnected. I've got my window open, and the breeze from the outside is coming through here. I can sense my shed and the greenhouse and the trees and the sky. I can sense all of that within me. So it's getting a greater sense of the allness that's around us. The environment that's around us is actually where? It's in our consciousness, it's of us. And just how nice it is to notice. So that's all we're doing. Just giving ourselves the space to notice. So, just leaving the external aside. At the top, we're drifting down, just like we did in the first time. Drifting down through the body to the depths. And you may notice that as you go internally, there is no confinement, there's actually a spaciousness within you. Notice it, don't listen to me. Well, yeah, do listen to me, but do this for yourself, so you're aware of it for yourself. There's that inner spaciousness, vastness, and the deeper you can go in consciousness within yourself, the more there is to you, of you, as you, and nothing stands alone. Once again, all that you see, even the sky and the cosmos around you, where is that as you think of it, as you bring that to mind? Where is that? It's inside you. And there's some incredible studies you can do besides this one, but you're just being aware of how once we lose track of that external confinement and separation and alienation, things aren't as they seem to be at the surface. Everything's interconnected. Everything interrelates onto everything else. There's a dance of life that goes on, and we're part of that dance. And if you can stay really centered in that eternal now, in that depths of you, in that invincibility of you that you're starting to discover. Nothing can touch you there. Nothing can touch you there, because nothing ever has touched you there. And whatever has happened in the past has only proven to you that that aspect is of you, and that you can resort to it anytime you want to. And that's your true place of being, because that's where nothing can touch you. And isn't that incredible? Yeah. So the vastness, the spaciousness, what's happening for you? Just notice. I'll be silent. I'll have a drink of water. I'll be silent so that you can become aware of what's going on internally. And just let your attention go deeper, deeper. And just let yourself even go deeper. You may notice you can hear me totally, perfectly clear. You can hear all the sounds around you, but you're not affected by them. Because you're grandeur. You can actually mentally embrace everything of yourself. Everything's unfolding as it needs to in the same, well, people are anyway. All people are unfolding as they are, no matter what they're going through. Everyone's unfolding as they need to get to this realization, to this understanding that there's more than what they think they are at the surface, than what they allow themselves to experience naturally. And just at that deep inner vastness, spaciousness. I keep using those same words because I want you to get that sense. Just allow yourself. You just may notice your body posture shifting, being more open. And the inner knowing that's there. Whatever is at the depths of you is never scary. The scariness is only at the surface and how we think, because we think in terms of separateness, and so we fear things that we don't understand. So all of those kind of things are just at the surface. Here is your knowingness, and the knowingness is always awesome, because you see the full picture, the fullness, the vastness of what's going on for yourself, for another. And it's only with practice. It's okay, all of these classes one leads into the next. So some of this you may be aware of from the first class, and that's perfectly fine. And it might slip into the third one, which is perfectly fine. And in the fourth one, bring it all together. It'll all make sense. And the idea is to find and allow yourself to come from that invincibility that you are. Because that's what you are. You've always been that. You were conditioned to think that you were a certain kind of person. You were female or male, or a certain name, a certain culture, a certain religion, certain schooling. All of that stuff, those are just labels that are external, and they're still there, but you don't have to get caught up in them anymore, because you know, you're starting to realize that there's more to you. There has always been that. And this is a return home to what you essentially are. How often do you hear people saying that? I just want to go home. Well, what are they really saying? They might not even realize what they're really saying. And they might be searching for an external home, whether it's in a different country or with a different person or a different house to live in. But really, it's coming home to oneself. That's the most empowering. And from there, you'll be guided, you'll be nudged. Where to be, who to be with. Everything will make more sense. That's the beauty of it. Of coming from your depths, from the vastness. It's like realizing that cosmos isn't out there somewhere. We're part of the cosmos. There's just some new photographs that have come out in the last few days, actually. Yesterday, 13th, 12th, whatever, 12th of July, 2022. And yeah, there's a better improved telescope. But you know the cosmos is out there and you can embrace it of you. It's of you anyway. How do you think? No, don't think. Allow yourself to come from the inner knowing of how everything is within everything else. And just marvel at how every aspect of you, as you are in your physiology, every atom, every cell, every aspect, everything contains the whole. It's like a holographic cosmos, because everything is part of everything. To know how everything fits exactly as it does. Deep thought, right? Well, yeah. Just allow yourself to think really big and just marvel in it and go, well, how is that possible? How is that? And come from your knowing. Just go to your depths and sit there. And the truth, the knowingness, the understanding will stand up. And it will be different from what other people think at the surface, but you don't have to share it with them. You can share it with me. Already there. And I realize I don't have to share that because people at the surface will think you're totally off the wall because they're not there yet. They're still, most people are still conditioned. As much as everything that's going on is the means to go, okay, well, how does all this fit in? How can all this be happening? And people necessarily have to think in bigger, greater terms. And that comes from the depths of us. That inner knowingness. And I want you to know for yourself. Know that you know that you know. Then nobody at the surface can tell you that you're bananas or you're crazy. And if they do, you can, if you have to say something and they, and they say that to you, then you can use that as a compliment because, and embrace them mentally anyway, because that's just where they're at, right? It's all good. Everything's in perfect order, and it is. You start to appreciate that. But you have to come. You have to leave the surface to go to the depths for that greater understanding. And everything as it's been at the surface has worked perfectly fine in the social structure of the world as it's been. But it's also been repeating certain patterns that just don't go anywhere, right? And we're in the process of discovering that even at the surface. It's like the frustration, the anger, the angst, all of those things that are starting to express are the realization that, hey, there's got to be more because this isn't working. And yeah, there's more. There's the vastness, the infinity of us that's within us, each. And each is an infinite expression, individualized as oneself. Well, that's pretty incredible to marvel. So this is a way of noticing that, experiencing that for yourself. And we do want a group. I do have the magic of healing, but this is deeper than what I've actually got listed on there. So just let me know and we'll form just a group of the people that have gone through the Shift Perception, Shift Everything classes, because then we are the ones that have gotten some of that experience, and we can share that between us. And there's more, and there's more, right? But this is how you plummet your own depths and start allowing it to surface for yourself, very kindly, spaciously. Just allow that to come out. And it's only in letting go of the external concerns that the answers naturally stem from your depths. So it's really letting go of being attached to anything external. And how you do that? You can do that scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. Hold on to everything so tight onto yourself. And then just let it all go. You gotta let it go, right? Such a wonderful, simple process. And you start to realize you can let everything go and you're still here, but you're not attached to it. The greatest love is being able to love unconditionally and not be attached to anyone, because then what are you saying? Do that inquiry for yourself. What are you saying if your love has to come from a certain person, or you're relying on somebody to allow you to feel love? Well, where's that love? It's stemming from you. It's really not stemming from anybody else. Everything stems from within you. And that's very powerful to know, to realize, understand. Because as you come from that infinite love that you are, you can love everything, everybody. You don't have to be with everybody but you can come from that infinite love in the sharings, in the presence, in the understanding that people are where they are. Just love them anyway. Because in the fuller scheme of things, everything's unfolding as it needs to, as it should, in that prime directive. And that's very awesome. And it turns on that infinite love for you, for me. We can go forth and so and that changes our chemistry, right? Because as we go forth in the individualized love that we are, infinite love that we are in a chemical high. What's love? It's a chemical high. We only at the surface tend to have it be turned on or be triggered at certain times by certain people, certain conditions, certain music. But that is what you are. It's that invincible, infinite love. Very cool. So this is a way of realizing what you essentially are. And you just have surrender to that. Just like when you do, once again, when you finally surrender to sleep, unplug from the external world. Well, this is an unplugging, it's a surrendering, it's a diving deeply into your own depths, which don't end. It's just this infinite vastness, and you start to realize that, oh my goodness, I am all of this. This is so cool. But I want you to have that experience for yourself. So just allow yourself to go deeper. Just say, I allow myself to go deeper and deeper. You don't have to do anything else, and just notice you can, and then there might be plateaus, but then you can go, I allow myself to go deeper and deeper still. And it feels so good. So you might refrain. Your body changes. It literally does. Trust me on that one. Your physiology changes. How you carry yourself changes. How you sound changes. How you receive anything and everything changes from the depths of you. If you come from the external, oh no, then guess what? You're caught up. You can go, okay, 17 seconds. It takes 17 seconds to start generating anything. So you get caught up in the external world. 17 seconds there, then you're caught up in the external. But you can also use that and go, oh, thank you. And give yourself that space to shift inwardly. Shift perception from the external to the internal, into the allness, into the vastness, the spaciousness. So you can actually come from the state of being, right? And that state resonates as your physiology, as your environment expands, and that's your reality realm experience. We experience reality, our different realities, our experiences of them, depending where we are perceiving from. So, coming from the vastness, everything is of us, nothing is against us. So we just mentally embrace that, and just realize that no matter what anyone's going through, there's still that prime directive within them, the invincible aspect of them. And whatever they're going through is part of the sequence of them discovering that for themselves. And they may watch you. Have you ever heard of you can let me know in the chat somewhere along the way, 100th monkey principle. And the idea is that there was a tribe of monkeys that were actually dying off on an island because they couldn't clean their food. And a baby monkey, interesting that it was a baby monkey, still connected to that inner knowing. Baby monkey picks up its coconut and takes it down to the water side and cleans it off, and is able to get into it and drink it. And the adults were in the jungle watching this, and so they took their coconuts and cast coconuts and went down to the water and did the same thing, and that tribe of monkeys flourished. And 500 miles over, a similar thing was happening. Another tribe was dying off, and another baby monkey went down to the water with its coconut and cleaned it off, and the adults saw it, went and did that, and that tribe flourished as well. So the idea is we learn by example. So even if we don't ask, or nobody tells us, just by the example of you living from your inner vastness, your inner invincibility, people will notice that, and they'll start to question that for themselves. Perhaps. And if not, then it's not their time yet to discover that for themselves. And it's all good. You can embrace them anyway, right? It's the same process. It's a new process, but if you are, as you realize you are everything, nothing is against you. So all that surface stuff starts to fall away. It dissolves. It breaks away. Those social constructs fall away. And that's what we're in the process of learning to do, is release all of those things because they don't work. We only cycle into war zones, and first war zones within our own head, and then war zones between countries. So instead of appreciating, we tend to criticize at the surface. So all of that's it's coming apart. It's coming apart in every single way. And it's good. It had to happen. So be grateful for what's going on, because it's all part of learning to come from our invincibility so we can appreciate each other, because each one is an individualized, infinite aspect of the whole. So, wow, how cool is that? And once we come from that place, it's not about learning how to love one another. We just are, because we realize we are that infinite love, individualized. So hopefully you can understand that. Understand. When you come from that deeper understanding, knowing, at the surface you won't. You'll think I'm crazy. And thank you. But drop down. Drop on down to that infinite aspect of yourself. I can't say that enough. So it's in the practice, it's in that doing this, I just start to realize that there's more to it. And it'll happen naturally. And the idea is to have it chemicalized within you, so you naturally are that. You are the new breed of being, because you are that essentially anyway. It's just being able to realize that that's where your power is. That is your superpower. That is where you are your superhero, your invincibility. Yeah. What else can I tell you? The inner terrain. So just notice what you notice. It's all good. They're all parts of self-discovery. And just notice what you notice. The deeper you go, the deeper, the grander understanding. And it's all good. Remember, the greater understanding is all-inclusive. Nothing is against anything. Nothing is against you, because everything is of you. You are greater than you think you are. You're greater than you appear to be at the surface. It's an inner experience. And as you come from that, you are that. As you are that, you can embrace everything else of yourself, because it's of you anyway. Remember, everything is part of everything else. It's a holographic universe. How is that possible? Ask yourself. Don't ask me. It's your self-discovery. It's your self-inquiry. So just, you can just sit with that. Oops, my belly's burping a little bit, but that's okay. It's all part of that, right? It's not burping, but it's doing its little sound. Yes, I know you're there. And no matter, at the surface we tend to fight things. We fight disease, we fight each other, we fight this, we fight. There's this mentality of fighting. But really, when you think of it, what's the image when you're trying to fight your neighbor? Fighting your neighbor, right? Notice it for yourself. The image is of your neighbor. Or if you're trying to fight a disease, if you're trying to fight cancer, what's the image? You've got cancer. Well, how can you fight cancer if you got the image? So the only way out is an internal drop to where none of that exists. Into your invincibility. And you can thank whatever is going on at the surface to allow you to go into your invincibility, to remind you that you're more than what seems to be going on at the surface. Well, what goes on? We've named it, we've labeled it, we've compartmentalized it. So it's something outside of us that's affecting us. So all of those things are just external constructs that don't exist at the depths of us. No. So at first it seems like you might be going a little nutty because it's so different, but just be gentle with yourself. Just gentle with whatever comes up. And always come from your knowing, your deep knowingness, your innate knowingness, not what you think you know. It's not the stuff I'm talking about, because that'll hook you back into your thoughts of what you think you know. And really, we don't know anything. We have forgotten what we are. This is our coming home to what we essentially are. Over and over. So it's a moment-to-moment practice, hour to hour, day to day. As you do that, you'll start to see yourself differently. You'll start to see the light in your own eyes. Because that's what you are. You're that eternal light that you are. And just marvel. But don't give it too much attention, because once again you'll start to go, oh, look how great. You're out of it. You're back at the surface. No. Just know that when you come from that inner knowing, you shine. And let yourself shine. Yeah. So, let yourself shine. Because that's what you are. You're the light. Everything at its core is the prime directive, the light of the cosmos. Wow. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that incredible? Yes, it is. And you can do that for yourself. You can start to see that in each other. Our eyes are the portals to our soul, and yet how rarely we tend to look into each other's eyes. Start to see the light that's there at the depths. Oh. But it's only by doing it for ourselves that we get to discover the truth for ourselves, of life. So, that's our class 2. We've We know how we are at the surface, how we tend to keep things separate and alienated at the surface. So we've moved into the allness, seeing the interconnectedness, the flow, the dance of life, into the depths of us one more time, into the vastness, into the infinity of us, the spaciousness of us. And just noticing how wonderful it feels just to be there, at our depths. And how we can actually interact. We can interact with the world around us, being anchored, being so of that core of us, that we're not attached to the surface. We can interact and deal with surface stuff, how other people are or how they think, but not be attached to it. Just embrace them for what they essentially are and let them be. So that's the new prayer, if you wish. It's being able to appreciate everything around us from the depths of us. And then you start to realize you can do that. It actually expands and extends as your reality realm experience. And people may say, well, who's in your life, or what's going to happen to you, or whatever. But you don't have to say anything. You can go, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Check this program out if you want to really know. Anyway, so just doing it for yourself. That's all that really matters. That's what I've been doing. And in turn, innovative ideas stem up. You might be nudged in different directions or in similar aspects by being able to do things differently from that infinite love. Or you might walk away from what you're doing and do something totally different, but you'll be doing it from the infinite love that you are. Nothing else. Nothing that you think you should be doing else or any of that. You're coming and you're abiding your prime directive. And this time, that's always been what you came here. So you're allowing it to flow through you. Yes. And perhaps you may become aware of your inner music, inner resonance, frequency, reverberation, inner rhythm. It's all there. Just have to be still enough just to listen. Listen and hear. Be nudged and abide. Do what you're nudged to do from that inner loving place. That is your inner guidance. And so hopefully this has been a wonderful experience for you. It's been a wonderful one for me. I don't usually like to talk as much at all. But hopefully there's enough space there for you to glimpse, drop down, do it for yourself. Don't make this just a listening call. It's an experiential call. Allow yourself to immerse within your own depths. And let me know what you find there. Write it down, sing it out, tape it, record it in some fashion, and let me know how you're doing. And This is class 2. I said that enough times today. And class 3 is next week. So 21st, I believe it is. Next Thursday at 11. And if it's all recorded, I can promote this again as a replay on demand. I guess that's the best way of doing it, considering we're already 2 in. Anyway, that's for me to know what to do with. Anyway, the best to you. Love you. And just keep playing with it. Playfully, musingly. Marvel in awe. And catch you next time. Cheers. Okay, here we go. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. This is class 3, and there's going to be some noises out there because they're chopping down a whole pile of trees and bushes. They're clearing a lot next door to me here. So that's what I have to deal with for the next 9 days or thereabouts. So you've got the replay. So anyway, class 3. So we'll start with the wonderful scrunch everything. Hold it, hold it, hold it. And then let it all go. Let it all go. Yes, because we don't want to be holding on to all of that. We want to get beyond the surface, to the depths of us. Yes. And that's such an easy way of doing it. You can do a countdown, 3, 2, 1, but you're still counting, so you're still sort of heady. But if you just do it and you have the visceral experience of just letting go, that is so cool, right? So that's what we want to do. And this morning's class is actually quite interesting. Well, they're all interesting, I hope. But it's realizing that there's a domino effect in everything that we do. So if we come from the surface, if we have an assumption that goes off, a thought, then there's a looping pattern. There's a domino effect that occurs. And we're going to use these as ways of noticing the trajectory of where everything goes, like a single action, whether at the surface or below, has a domino effect. So we're just going to follow both of them. So that's going to be our shift for today, is just realizing the domino effect of everything that goes on. So we'll start at the surface. That's probably where you are, sort of, anyway, even though you scrunch and released. So just noticing how a single thought, just one thought, has a domino effect. So just notice what might go through your mind right now, or pick a thought. It does either way, so that you can notice what the thought is, how the thought sits within you. Like it's usually a thought about something external or internal. Like you could be thinking of somebody or something that happened, but it's still a thought about something. So there's already a natural segregation, separation within that. So just to notice how that one thought already has it. And as I mentioned before, it takes only 17 seconds to give that enough energy, give it enough momentum to get going. And then we don't even realize we're in it. Oh my goodness. And then we get caught up in it and we think that that's the reality because it expands. of us, and then we're in it, we're chemicalized, we're talking about the surface, so we're contagiously chemicalized in thinking in a certain way, a social way. So, yeah, just notice. And that's the segregation, that's the alienation, that's the separation. So one assumption can create that. So one assumption, if we're talking about something or someone, what is that actually creating? It's creating a distance, a sort of a perceived separation from another, from something else. So this is just noticing, it's not condemning it or, oh my God, but that goes off sometimes anyway. That actually creates the chemistry, but we're not going to go into that today. We're just going to notice how it creates a sense of alienation. That loops into alienation. So now that person or object or whatever is outside of us somewhere, it's separate from us, and we're talking about it. We're assuming something about it that we think we know about them. Here's a good one. I came across a wonderful acknowledgement, and it's probably not far from it, but we only see at the surface, we only see 1% of all that is available. That's already part of the reality see, because everything's part of everything else, right? So something is part of something else, it's part of something else, and goes on and on and on, and we can take that to its extreme as well, to where we realize that everything comes from one source, one prime directive. But back to back to separation, back to assumptions. Yes, assumptions lead into alienation. And if we're feeling separate from something, someone, anything, then what's the next thing that happens for us? If we're separate, then check it out for yourself. What's the next thing that happens? Maybe it's a little bit different for you, but for myself, I find that that's where the attachments come from. Because now we want to feel part of something. So the attachments, whether they're emotional, physical, mental, they just happen. It's that one assumption that creates the alienation, it creates the attachments that we get caught up in. So there's this grasping sensation, whether it's for objects, people, ways of behavior. Just notice what that might be for you. But notice that it's there. Get that experience for yourself. Yeah. Just notice. And how nice it is to notice. You don't have to do anything about it except notice it. That's not putting you through anything heavy. It's just a way of realizing how things domino out. Have a domino effect. And everything goes to somewhere. So we're going to take you there. Everything goes into, there's stages. And that's the third stage. Attachments. And it can be to old ways of thinking. So we're looping in that cycle. And somewhere along the way, those attachments lead to addictions. And the addictions are actually ways of thinking foremost, which lead to physical addictions. But catch the pattern of thought that might cross your mind. Oh my God. So they're patterns of addiction. You may notice it by patterns, the physical patterns that you tend to subscribe to. Uh, it can be anything. It can be the way that you run your day, the way that the things that you do during the day. It's 4:20. It's time for this. It's time for that. The common ones, of course, are breakfast, lunch, and supper, and get together for a drink or something. But those are patterns of addiction, foremost, and they're patterns of thinking, foremost. So we have that one assumption that loops into alienation, that loops into attachments, neediness, want, I need, I want, I must have. It's where the shopping sprees come in. Been there, done that. And addictions, because this will make me feel better. What's an addiction? It makes me feel better. I feel like I'm part of the groove. I'm in rhythm with the social constructs, the social way of being. I'm normal. Addictions. And out of the addictions, what's the next thing that happens? What might be the next domino loop that addictions go into? For me, what I have noticed, it's afflictions. We go into, they all start with a thought. Gee, that first one, that assumption, that's why thoughts are so important. How you think, what you allow to cross your mind is so important, because it'll tend to loop into all of these other stages. And we go through them like, as I said before, 60, 80,000 patterns of thinking in a day. So they keep looping and looping, and we keep ourselves in those condensed, constructed, conditioned ways of being, unless we notice consciously that we're doing it. And we can notice it by the actual physical actions that we're taking. So afflictions. What's an affliction? An affliction can be you notice it as an emotional thing. Things start to happen. Certain things, patterns of actions happen. This is where accidents might happen. You do the same thing over and over, and it's like it's affecting you. So it's an affliction. So what might that be for you? Can you bring to mind some of the things that might be going off for you at these stages? Just notice. And can be a fear, can be a doubt. And they all have their own domino effect that goes off. It loops. They loop. They loop. And out of the afflictions, because they can get so sporadic and out of the natural inner rhythm that's there, because we're already caught up in all this superficial stuff, it goes into ailments. That's where dis-ease comes in, dissonance, not being in harmony, in resonance. So it gives you a different understanding of what dis-ease is, as much as we talk about diseases and we name them and categorize them and, oh my God, try and cure them and treat them and fix them. If you notice where it stems from, then all it takes is to sit still. But most people don't. They panic. Oh my God, I got this. Now it's labeled. Oh my God, I have to cure this. I have to go for treatment. I have to. Just saying. If you have the inner sense to do something else, then by all means. But take the moment to notice how it all stems originally from an assumption, a surface assumption, that we get caught up and it has these stages that it goes through. That's all perhaps going on. Just check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. One more time. Check these things out for yourself so that you know that you know that you know for yourself. Then no one else can tell you that it's anything else, because you can go, well, is it? Is there something else going on besides these patterns? Check it out for yourself so that you know for yourself. So, where are we? Ailments. And what's ailing you? So we've gotten, like, we're just so out of rhythm. We're just all over the place. So then we're vulnerable, where our immune system is down because we're so caught up in, we're all over the place. We're not centered within ourselves. But let's take it further. All these ailments. So if we're just treating the symptoms, which usually gets what's treated chemically by medications, or you might do it on your own by a drink or whatever, but it's still a chemical temporary shift, but you're still in this thing because you have this thought that keeps looping through. So now we're into the ailments, and if we don't catch those ailments, then they get worse, or they'll transfer into something else to give you the sign. Are you reading the signs right? Give you the sign that to do something totally different. But usually the difference is we pull something out, have something taken out, fix something, treat something at the surface so that we don't feel that way temporarily until we do. And then it can get worse, or it can accumulate with something else. Oh my God, oh no. So there's an accumulation of diseases, and oh my God, which one do I treat first? Or do I treat them all at the same time? More pills. So then we've subdued the surface conditionings, but they're still there. They're still going all over the place at a deeper level because we really haven't caught them at the level that they have been let loose. So really, the seventh stage is what? Annihilation. Excuse me. We take ourselves out. It might seem that it's the disease that took us out. Something happened that took us out. But anyway, because we tend to be at this point so out of whack, if we're willing to acknowledge it even, right? So just notice these. This is, today, we're just noticing these things. So if you can notice that all that you're doing is just subsiding something that's deeper that's going on for you, then you can scrunch, hold, and release. Start doing the things that we've been practicing the last couple of classes. Even at that point, you can still shift to that part of you that's totally invincible, because that's your power point. That is your power place. That is what you are. And these are all leading to that self-discovery. But anyway, if we don't handle it at the point of ailments, the only thing we can do is take ourselves out. And that's really perhaps what's happening in the world with all the conditions as well. You know, we try and fix things. We send garbage into outer space. Oh my God. Like, how tragic as it is, it's funny, right? Because we're out of sight, out of mind. So yeah, let's send it somewhere else. Let's put it in the oceans, in the lakes, wherever. So it's out of sight, out of mind. But we do it. All I'm really saying here, I hope you get this, is all we're really saying is out of sight, out of mind, and everything's cool. We're still at the surface, and we're carrying on as we're supposed to. But it comes apart. It has to come apart because it's based on a fallacy. It's a social construct to start with. That assumption was only a thought about something that we've isolated against us, and then all the other stages have kicked in. And it dominoes. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years later, we can't take it anymore. Time out. Take me home. Have you ever, I've noticed that, like I've gone to visit my folks when they were passing on, and even in the hospital or at home when they're ready to pass on, they're still saying, take me home. Just let me go home. Well, what are they really saying? Allow yourself to ponder that. Inquire about that, but do it from the inner space of you. So you get your own answers. I'm not going to tell you this. Or if I do, question it. And question for yourself. Is she right? Is this right? How can that be possible? So that you can actually shift into your own inner state, your eternal now, your eternal beingness, your infinite, spacious invincibility that you are. Because at that point, none of those things that are at the surface exist. Yeah, and that's where it's like almost like a Jekyll and Hyde, but the trick, the idea is to leave the surface. You have to leave the surface to drop down. You have to let go of the tension to feel the expansion. That's what we're doing here. Check it out for yourself. So the trajectory of any assumption, socially accepted assumption, which most of them are, because like I said, check it out for yourself, but it loops into alienation, separation, and then it goes into an attachment. Oh my God, the neediness, wantingness, whatever that is for you, where you see somebody else doing it, that's what's happening for them. You don't have to say anything, just notice that that's possibly, probably where they're at. And it's okay, it's all right, it's just where they're at. It's all part of coming around to realizing what we essentially are. And sometimes we have to have the school of hard knocks, go through a lot of those crazy things that happen to realize that that's not what we are, and there's still a greater part of us that's never been touched, never been affected. And that's what we're doing here, is realizing that aspect of us, which is really the greater aspect of us. And we can embrace all this other stuff because it's brought us home to ourselves. Okay, so the quick trajectory is any alienation leads to annihilation. So is that where you want to go? Because that's where you're headed. Anytime you hold on to a thought, a belief. What's a belief? It's a well-held thought. This is the way it is. This is the way it's always been. This is the way that I've been brought up, that society's told me things are, whatever. Religion, question everything. And that loosens things up. Questioning loosens things up because it allows you the space to go within, to go, well, but is it true? If there's an invincible part of me, then what's all this other stuff? Question things. Question, and like I said before, the truth within you is always awesome. It's never, oh my God. It could be like, oh my God, like, aha, wow. And those are the chemical changes that we want. We want to be anchored into our invincibility, and that's the way we get to it. And everything else dissipates. It's like pixelation. start to realize that everything's a construct and it pixelates, dissolves, and all there is that which is true. So may this be your experience, as it has been mine. And I can still drift to the surface, I can still get caught up, but it's lesser and lesser because I just don't enjoy that anymore. Because I know I'm just taking myself out of the picture and I don't want to. I want to be here. And if we're thinking about something else, we're not really here. All right, so assumption, the seventh stage, annihilation. And people call it death. It's a moving on. It's definitely leaving the body, and the body dissolves, and we call it death. So, is that where you want to go? Okay, so that's assumptions. The other side of that is appreciation. You can still be at the surface, but you can start to appreciate the beauty that's around you. It's all a shift in perception. Either one of these avenues, either one of these domino effects, and the appreciation has its 7 stages as well. Appreciation goes into acknowledgement. Appreciate anything, appreciate something, anything. It can be a sound you hear, a bird, the kind of day it is, any kind of day. You can appreciate it. Just appreciate it just because it is. Because you're here to appreciate it. So appreciate anything and everything, because that starts the chemicalization. It's the openness. Where assumptions block, appreciation is a portal of opening it into acknowledgements. Acknowledgements of what? Start to acknowledge something. Acknowledge the beauty that's around you. Acknowledge how you are, even in this very moment, at the core of you. You're getting a sense of what you are. Acknowledge the prime directive in everything. You can go through those stages that we've been through the last couple of classes, and you start to see that at the depths, that's always there. No matter what seems to be going on at the surface, no matter what appears to be going on at the surface, that's just an assumption, right? It's just the 1% of what we're really seeing anyway. Because at the depths, how far do you want to go? Deeper and deeper and deeper. How high do you want to get? The deeper you go, the higher you get. So there's your 420 or whatever you want to call it, your natural high. It's all there, the acknowledgements. Going into attunements. Attunements, interesting words. At one-ments. At one is a tone, and attune is attune. So we're getting into a melodic sense of what's going on. You can marvel in it. So that loops into an attunement of what's going on. So you can now start to feel the expansion, the extension of yourself. And all of these are portals to greater love, greater understanding of love. So stay with it until you start to feel the love. Stay in the appreciation. Stay in that first one until you start to feel love. And you can appreciate anything and everything. Just sit in one place and look around you and appreciate it. And appreciate it and appreciate it until you start to generate that love. That love is generated through you. And then notice that it goes into an acknowledgement. You're starting to acknowledge something about what you're appreciating. And as you appreciate that, then there's an attunement, at one-ment. It's not separate from you. You're at one with it, with everything. Or just one thing, wherever you're at, whatever feels comfortable for you at first, and then you can expand on this process. And out of that comes the affinity with everything. There's this affinity flow. Now, if that's not melodic, I don't know what is. I don't want to know what else. It is. It's a melodic sense. There's an affinity flow with everything. You can see it in nature. You can feel the breeze in my hair. It's coming through the window. And the affinity flow. And you can move in it, of it, as it. And notice how it feels in the body. This is a visceral experience that I want you to have. So just notice. Notice and allow it to magnify, intensify. Through you, as you. You are that. So just acknowledge it. Love it. So yeah, the love expands. So now there's an infinite love that starts to blossom through you, as you. Very cool. As you're in this affinity flow, you can notice, realize that it's everywhere. You might be looking at the sky or the stars, whatever, but really, there's an aboundedness, I call. You are that. And you just allow yourself to be that. I have that sense right now, but I'm talking with you. So it seems like you're expanding, which you are, but it's in consciousness. This is all about different levels of consciousness. It may seem like it's, might be metaphors associated with it and all sorts of stuff, but it's really an expansion in consciousness. You're starting to realize that you are so much more than you thought you were. And you thought you were. That's that assumption of, I am this little identity, and identifying with your identity. So even the heart is still there, but it's now boxed in, blocked in. And we have to go to another, okay, I'm backtracking to that assumption where you have to lean on somebody else to break you open. Break what open? The love that you are experiencing when you appreciate something, someone, anything, everything. And the appreciation takes you into the acknowledgement. Yes, I'm feeling this love. It's always been here. This is how you turn it on. This is how you turn yourself on. Start to appreciate everything around you. And that takes you into the attunement, atonement, at-one-ment, the affinity flow, the aboundedness. You're now where? You are of the cosmos. You're not separate from it. You never were. That was just a construct back in the assumptions. You are the aboundedness, which you knew you were as you were coming into this state, but perhaps you don't realize that or remember that, so that's okay. There are moments when you go, oh my God, we want more of those. Because they're so cool. They break you open. They allow you to expand, extend, and experience that which you essentially, innately, uniquely are. And you can look at everything around you, the appearances of the world around you from this aboundedness. But now you notice it differently. You may hold on to the realization that there's a structure, that it's more than just appearances at the surface. There's more to it. You can start to see through the layers as we did in the other two classes. So you start to see with real eyes. And understand that that's the reality of it. So no matter what's going on at the surface, there's deeper and deeper levels till you get to that prime directive. And all of this leads us to the seventh stage of all oneness. There's a simultaneity that's present in everything. It's just like a seed, a mustard seed, an acorn seed, any kind of seed, a flower seed. The flower is already in the seed. The multitude of apple trees are already in one seed. Wow! Marveled that for a while. Oh my goodness. Yes. Marvel in it, because that's what's going on anyway. That's the simultaneity. That's the ever-present now. We may wait for it to blossom forth, and for the multitude of trees, but they're all contained now. The essence of what you are is now. It's not something you have to become. You already are that. So all oneness, the omnipresence of all that is now. Just allow yourself to have that experience, dwell in that experience. So that turns on your endorphins and all the incredible chemistry that keeps you there, that keeps you eternally now. Yeah, very cool. So, appreciation has its trajectory into all oneness. So, is there really a choice? You might think there's still a choice. You might still give in to the assumptions, but really you're just going to take yourself out. So, is there a choice? Oh, here's the other part. Even if you are going through all of the assumptions, what's ever present? The all oneness is ever present within the depths of you anyway. So, when are you going to surrender all that you thought you knew, all that you thought you were at the surface, and just allow yourself to play in the appreciation, in the wonderment of what you essentially are? Because it's in the appreciation that the love is turned on, expanded, extended. So you are that, because you get to feel it. You move in it, of it, as it. There's no separation. That's all you are. So to have that experience, you have to drop below, if you wish to call it that, see it that, need that, realize that. You have to leave the surface to get into the appreciation. You can't appreciate something that you assume is against you. You have to find something to appreciate. Well, yeah, I guess in a sense, if something seems against you, or if you're in the assumption that something is against you, then you've got the fear and doubts and all that stuff going on, like that other lower chemistry going off, that you're propelled to go through that other loop. You can't get into this one. But you can stop at any point and just be still and shift into the appreciation. Appreciate all that you are. Appreciate something about yourself. And it's the appreciation, it's the felt, viscerally felt experience of appreciation that turns on the love. It's got nothing to do with, and you'll look really good for doing it, but you don't focus on that because that takes you back into the external. You want to loop the appreciation into all oneness. That's this week's study class for you. Is to, whenever you get yourself caught up at the surface, stop at the surface and drop to your depths. Drop into appreciation. Drop into something, anything that you can appreciate. And you might need 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things to appreciate to start generating that love. Start generating that other way of seeing. Seeing the beauty of all that's around you, within you, as you. Very cool. So just allowing yourself to appreciate anything and everything. Allow that to be your mantra. Breathe it. Breathe in appreciation. So just, and then the next step will just naturally unfold, because if you appreciate something, then you can acknowledge something about it. And if you acknowledge something about it, then the atonement is there. It naturally is there. Attunement, atonement, right? Atonement. This is how we atone all that stuff that we thought we were separate from. We embrace it all. Yes. Atonement. And out of that is the infinity flow. That's where the inner music really becomes obvious. Inherently obvious. You may notice it. There's an inner rhythm that your resonance, your rhythm, your inner music comes out of that affinity flow. So you realize that the inner music comes from a pristineness of you, the love of you. It's nothing you create or copy at the surface. That's different. That's temporary, but it still can turn you on, right? But it's not the same thing as this. This you start to realize comes from your depths. And as it does, it comes through you, of you, as it extends as your field of being. Extends as your reality realm. And as that happens, and you're in the aboundedness of life, you are the aboundedness. Abundance, aboundedness, you are that. You don't have to get abundance. That's back there, trying to claim something. You are that. You're starting to realize that you are that. And all that you see has that same structure, essence to it. It's all made of the same stuff. Wow. Awesome. And it takes you into the all-oneness, the allness of life. So yeah, appreciation into all-oneness. The other one isn't even a choice anymore. This is it. And you abide by the inner directive that's within you. Just like the seed, just like the plant, just like the bird, just like the cosmos. Everything has its own variable of the prime directive to know exactly how to blossom, expand, extend, be in the world. Watch the animals, watch the birds. They're not going, oh my God, where's my next drink, my next food? How do I fly 5,000 miles? They just intuitively know. And they surrender to that knowing, and they just are guided simultaneously, synchronistically. They just know what to do in the moment. So it brings it into the eternal now. So all of these are starting to come together, hopefully for you. But do this for yourself so that you know that you know that you know. And when you do that, nobody can tell you differently. People are where they are in their process or journey in discovering what they are. And if you tell somebody that, they'll think you're totally off the wall because, no, they're still in this little construct of identity. I am this and nobody can tell me different because I am this. Right. Tell me that when you're going through your ailments and annihilations. What's left then? What's left then? Well, check it out for yourself. That which is immutable, invincible, that part of you. And you can certainly study other studies, but this is a great start. And yeah, you can go, well, how is that possible? Well, isn't it? If you are the infinity of everything and you are invincible, then what is death? And here's the other one. Is it even really necessary? Unless you choose to do it consciously. Time out. Well, time to leave. But then you'll know how to do it differently from the all oneness. So hopefully that wasn't too much. Hopefully this is all good. And do it for yourself. Just check it out. We've been interacting in this class 3. So it's food for thought anyway. It's to nourish and nurture you in a greater way of perceiving yourself, understanding yourself, knowing yourself, realizing what you essentially are. So yeah, very cool. So, class 4, next week, we'll bring all of this together. Dynamite! You'll know that you know that you know for sure. If you allow yourself to go through these steps, you will definitely know that you're more than what you think you are, what you assume you are, what you accept yourself to be at the surface. Those are still there, playfully there, but you're not attached to them. You're not addicted to them. So the last parts of those start to fall away and you go, aha, I can appreciate this, thank you very much, and go right into the appreciation. You can bypass the afflictions and ailments and annihilations. The sooner you catch it, if you catch it at assumptions, that's your best bet, because then you don't have to go into an alienation. But the alienation is a good place because you start to notice that, oh my God, I'm fearing something. I think something's against me. I have to grasp something. I have to have something external. Then you know that you're in that loop. And how many times does that go off in a day? Oh my goodness. So we're trying to get the appreciation into all oneness, domino effect happening in a day. As many times as possible until you land in that all oneness and realize, oh my God, I am all of this. Anyway, to be continued. In the continuum. All right, love you dearly. Thank you for being here. Cheers. And you are first. Hey, good morning to you all. This is our fourth class in the magic of healing, shift perception, shift everything, bringing it all together, all the things that we've very gently and perhaps musingly thought were going on, but the profound importance of making that one shift from the external to the eternal now. So we'll start with that wonderful scrunch, and this time we're going to really give it attention. So scrunch every part of your body, lift your shoulders, scrunch your toes, your fingers, your mouth. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Hold it till you can't hold it any longer. And let go. Let it all go. Isn't that amazing? I don't know about you, but I should get a hit off that. It's like, oh my God. I realized something this morning that I'll share with you. I realized that it was just that, because when I was giving birth to Michael, I had to, of course, really work with the contractions, right? So after whatever length of time that was, I was so high, and I saw the innocence in everybody that I looked at. I went into the bathroom, I looked at myself, and I went, oh my God, there's this babe, like baby, like this innocence of a child. Not like babe, but I saw it in my doctor, I saw it in my husband. It's like everybody, until I took myself out, because I started, once I left the hospital, I started getting back into the surface stuff. But really, it was just this natural, well, at that point it was natural, scrunching and holding and releasing with the contractions over and over and over. So I'm going, oh my God, I got it back. Doing these classes allowed me to, I got so much out of these classes myself, because I've had to go, okay, how do I bring in the next thing? And then just letting it all go. Letting it all go and trusting that whatever's going to come up today will be perfect as it is. We're bringing it all together. And that's the start of it. So just that total scrunch and release. So even if you just get that, you got it. It's your $1 million gift. Priceless gift. Because it takes you right back. Because where else, what happens? Everything's released. Well, if everything's released, then what's really left? I'm not going to go through the 3-2-1 process, which is in the Magic of Healing at the Royal Theatre, which was listed as a prerequisite for doing this. So some of you might have been at that program and are familiar with it. Otherwise, just check it out. It's on YouTube. It should be just below this on the Magic of Healing site. Magic of Healing at the Royal Theatre. Yeah. So what's really left after you put everything aside is really the premise of 3-2-1, because you go through all the layers, sort of like what we've been doing in the last 3 classes. And what's still left? Because once you give up your identity and your idea of what you think you are and what you should be doing and all those things, what's really still there? Yeah. And that's what you are. That's the invincible part of you. Nothing's ever touched you at that point. That is you. We talk in language has a weird way of segregating things anyway, right? For the most part. But it is what you really are. And the premise of shift perception, shift everything, is to realize that once you leave the surface time-boundness, past, future, cycles, there is just the infinity of what you essentially are, which is this infinite, invincible presence, this consciousness. Labels don't do it justice. It's like, because then you have an idea of what consciousness is and what love is, but if you have that experience for yourself, then you know that you know that you know. Right? So that's what we're doing. Okay, so fourth class, we're bringing it all together, and we're talking about the cycles that assumptions can go into, assumptions into annihilations, and also appreciation into all oneness. So choice, once you realize there is no choice, then appreciation is the natural one. But anyway, for the moment, I do want to talk about assumptions because there was a piece that was missing in all of those, and that's the afterthought. And this is such an important one because it creates the feeling, it creates the chemicalization. It's either a contagious chemical low, or in this particular case, and that's what starts the motion. So afterthought. So if you have an assumption, I'll use something for myself. My mother used to say the same thing over and over again. I used to go, tisk. That's what that was. Tisk. And that tisk was the afterthought. I thought it was really quite innocent for 40 odd years, it seemed. Forever. Because it would always go off, and then I'd get this heart palpitation, and then I'd want to get out of the room. I did get out of the room. And I thought it was always her doing that to me. It wasn't. It was within myself. This is why I'm into this stuff, because this is so precious, so important, because we do it to ourselves. We set these things in motion ourselves. And then we think it's because of the other person or because of something else that's going on. And it's not. Oh my God. The reality check. So once I got the tisk, I went, could that be it? And then I started to examine what tisk means. Well, what is it really saying? It's saying that somebody's against me. It's part of the assumption that, oh, here she goes again. She's going to say the same thing over and over again. Same old, same old. And then it goes into the alienation, which, oh no. So there's certain ones. So I'll leave it with you to catch. And you can let me know. This is something that I'm leaving with you to inquire about and explore for yourself. So anytime you're feeling an agitation, an abruption, or a tightness, what did you just say to yourself? What was the thought, but then what did you say after? What was the afterthought? And the afterthought can be, oh no, uh-oh, tisk. What else is there? Oh my God. I'm sure that's where the swears come in. Oh my God. Like it can get really abrupt. I don't want to quite say it here because in case I want to make sure that these are posted. But you know what I mean? It's all those things, because what are they really saying? They're saying that something's against me. You find something out, and you, oh my God, and it's not fun either. So I'll let you figure those out for yourself. Just be aware of them, because then you can go, well, what's that afterthought saying? Because it's creating the momentum. Remember, I was saying it's the afterthought that's creating the momentum. So just notice how it starts to loop. Yeah. And then as it goes on, then of course when you get to ailments and you go, oh my, I got this and it's happening and I have to do all this and my life's over, and what's the afterthought for that? Anytime a doctor says something to you that you've got 6 months to live, and you live 6 months, and you take that as gospel, yeah, so many people do. because they've given their life over to somebody else. Whose life is this? Who's responsible for your life? It better be you. You start to realize it is once you start appreciating and realizing that there is a prime directive that's running every cell of you, every aspect of you, everything. You think that you're setting things in motion and doing things on your own. I'm willing my will. But for how long? Because something will happen to offset that if it's not in line with the natural order, the natural harmony, affinity, atonement, aboundedness of you. Something will kick in. I'll promise you that. It has to, because it's a message. It's a sign to let you know that you're off track. So read your signs right. Don't think that something is against you, because then you'll act that way accordingly. Oh no. So be aware of the afterthoughts that propel you in that cycle over and over and over. Because it doesn't go anywhere. So anyway. So let's move into appreciation. Appreciation at one, allness. Appreciation, allness. Appreciation, allness. Because then you're at one with all. There's nothing against you. So nothing is against you. Where are you? You're in awe, awesomeness. Aha! And that's what it takes to feel at one. Wholeness. Healing is actually wholeness. Check the words out. Google them. Check them out in your dictionary. Healing is a sense of wholeness. Because if you're whole, there's nothing against you. So appreciation is an awe. Oh, you can feel the difference. It's a contagious chemical high that starts to get generated. So that afterthought, which is awe, aha, awe, wow, eureka, all of those, they stir up that contagious chemical high. And we want those because we want to chemicalize, see ourselves with fresh eyes, be in that innocence, that invincibility of us. And this is how we get back on track to being what we are. See what I mean with words? They're back on track of what we already are. I posted an interesting story this morning. It says, what was never lost can never be found. It's a Zen saying, but it's a beautiful one. I love it. How simple can you get? So only when we feel apart from something, from that essence, from that inner deep love that we are, that we're in search of something external. We're told that someone will satisfy us, will complete us, make us whole. So we go to all the different doctors and religious leaders and people that are supposed to make us whole, forgive us our sins. But really, it's just shifting to what you essentially are and realizing the fallacy, the elusive fallacy that keeps us in that for a lifetime, for a lot of people. Sometimes they get it on their deathbed. Oh my goodness. The look in my mother's eyes was so profound when we found her. She was going through a physical thing. Obviously she had a heart attack or something physically, but the look in her eyes was just so awesome. It was like, wow. Talk about eureka. She had it. It was like, obviously she was seeing something profound. And there is that DMT within us. There's that natural chemical high that really envelops us as people pass on. You've probably heard about that, or Google it if you haven't. But yeah, what must be going on? And then we float. We're compelled, propelled, pulled by that chemical high or low into either one of those cycles. I gotta have a drink of water. Excuse me. I drink sparkly water. SodaStream. So sometimes my tummy gurgles afterwards. It's like the after effect of drinking sparkly water. So if that happens, you'll know what happened. But anyway, so let's backtrack. I'm all over the place, but it's fun. It's nice to go back and forth to notice a difference, right? So back to assumptions. So an assumption, the love is always there, as I said last time, regardless of which way we go. Assumption, appreciation. I'll use those two. Appreciation. Assumption. Okay. The love is always there because that's the core of us, right? It's just in consciousness we surface and we give into all the things that go on at the surface until we get back to appreciation of what really is going on. But the love is always there. But through an assumption that love is boxed in. So we could look at an assumption as boxing the love, separating us, right? Because we go into alienation. So that's the second box on top of that. It's like box, 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 box. And all of a sudden there's this little heart, but it's got like 7 boxes. It's so closed off, it has to go somewhere. It has to take itself out. It's so tight in there. The idea is we always have the opportunity to shift. And when's that going to happen? When are you going to allow yourself to shift? So hopefully these classes have loosened things up for you a bit. To realize that, we're just, which one are we buying into? And what's the cost of staying normal, staying at the surface? Well, how much is your medication? How much are your relationships worth? How much is everything and anything costing? Like, what's the worth? What's the value of all that? So you might be making a lot of money, but there's a cost factor of staying at the surface, which is now coming apart. And that's great. It has to. Because it's time. It's very timely. It's very timely to get back to the timelessness of us, the infinity of us, to our true power, right? There's all sorts of things are falling apart. So it's like, who can you really rely on? And the only true reliance is on that invincibility of us. Surrender everything and realize there's still something of you. And you can walk in that, you can move in that, you can talk in that, improvise. Our life is an improvisation. So just, children, they don't plan things. Babies, watch them. I think that's probably why we gravitate to little ones, because they're still so spontaneous. They're just now, here now. Are we here now? Have fun with it. I'm having fun with it. It's only when I start to take things seriously that I go, okay, I'm so off track. I'm back into some sort of I'm supposed to know. We already innately know. We're always innately guided. If we only surrender to that. And the surrender is such a high. It's, we surrender to people, to situations at the surface. So this is a way of surrendering to our depths. It's like taking a deep dive, but it's all in consciousness. So it's like very playfully, but it's like a surrender. It's like falling asleep. We finally surrender to letting go of everything at the surface. I just want to fall asleep. Except you're awake. And you're hearing all the sounds around you, and you can feel the breeze, and you actually perceive more. There's a peripheral vision. You get a sense of what's going on around you. You're not just seeing pinpointedly through your eyes, which is only what, that 1%? We're squinting to see that 1%, when intuitively we know that everything's part of everything else, and everything's part of that prime directive, expressing is everything. Wow. So intuitively we see more. Well, where's that sight? It's in imagination. We have the greatest nation within us, and that's just fantasy. Well, unless you have vision, envision something, you're not going to do anything anyway. So you need that imagination. That's where you open up to the infinity of you, inspiration of you. They're playful words, but start to see the similarity in them. So, all boxed in, annihilation. Yes, I have problems with that word sometimes. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So, meanwhile, an appreciation, that's an opening up. It's like a portal. We're opening up. We're opening up to the love that's around us. And then we acknowledge. We start to see the beauty. What's beauty? Beauty is love made visible. So you can actually feel it in every cell of your body. And I want you to have that visceral experience. So you start to go, oh my. Ah, wow. And you start to realize that everything stems from love. You only create because no matter how you judge what's being created, it's still made out of love. Even if you love shooting and guns, you're still doing it because you love doing that. Crazy, you might sound, but everything is made of love. The prime directive is only there to guide you in your unique directive. That's true to you. So the importance is to listen to what is coming up for you. It's just that we've subscribed to other people's intentions of what we should be doing at the surface. But really, that ever-present intuitiveness, directive, is of us. Is us. And the more that we give that credence, the more the surface dissipates, dissolves, depixelizes. We still have our name, we still have all of those things, like I said before, but we're not attached to them. We're not attached to the body. We have a body, and it becomes more beautiful the more we abide by the prime directive. It has to be, because it's love made visible. So, but we don't get caught up in it. We just go, yeah, hey, I must be doing it right, because, hey, but don't get caught up in it. As soon as you start getting caught up in it, 17 seconds, right? pull it back. Oh, that's just the prime directive. Call it what you want. I'll call it prime directive. It's nice and neutral. Can we handle that? Prime directive? But it's everywhere present. It's in the air. We call this invisible, empty space, but it's not. Check out quantum physics. It's the plenum. David Bohm. Check out David Bohm. Oh my God. He was a man of my own heart. I went, oh my God. And it was the same year. It was like 1991, 1992. And I'm going, oh my God, this person. And I didn't come across him until much later. I didn't come across him till, I think it was 1999. But he was going through all of this at the same time. There's numerous people. Synchronicities happen. Bruce Lipton was happening in the early 90s as well. There was a number of people that were coming. Michael Talbot, he didn't last very long. He passed on, but he came up with the holographic universe. A dear friend of mine back then gave me a copy of that book. It was a little bit too much for me at that point, but the deeper you go, the more all of these things, you question them. You go, how is this possible? And you sit still and the answers come up. The fuller knowing comes up for you. Aha! Wow! And guess what? All of those pull you deeper into those inquiries, explorations, because it's there. That's where our innovations come from. We're inspired to innovate. Come on. What's the alternative? The surface? I don't think so. Yes, like our intuitive ideas, innovations come from imagination. The fuller scope of what we are. We have to give it attention. We have to sit in silence. That's what I hear so much about. Well, I used to meditate. So meditation is a way of getting there, but then most people come back on up and same old, got to get back to the grind. Ooh, grind, yeah, they're grinding themselves up until they get to annihilating themselves. So yeah, portals, appreciation. And if you appreciate this, and you appreciate that, and you appreciate this person, and you appreciate yourself, it's like you magnify, intensify, amplify that love that you are. And you can acknowledge there's a subtle but powerful shift that happens, right? You start to appreciate the beauty in everything. Oh my. Wow. Aha. And as you do that, of course you want to, you're welcoming that. Portals, openings. You're opening it so you can embrace it all. Of course you want to be at one, attuned to it, because it's so beautiful. You appreciate it. So you are at one with it. And that can be everything, but you don't have to be attached to it. You can appreciate everybody, everyone, everything everybody's going through, because they're just at their own stages of arriving at their own invincibility. And you can't tell them that. If you do, they might close off, and it'll take them twice as long to get out. Tell them about the program. Tell them about these classes that they can subscribe to. If they're open and you have to go through them. Openness is our prerequisite. Musing openness, wonderment. How is that possible? Let me check this out. Yes. So, portals. And then what? There's the affinity flow. We're back into that beautiful portal of affinity, and we're just moving in it, and we're improvising in it, and it feels so great. Oh my goodness. We're greater than the body. We are transcending our sense of smallness. We're beyond that at this point. We are just the energy flow. Yes, the affinity flow. And like I said before, that's where the inner music stems from. And if you get to this point, it is just a loving sound of you. What are words? Words are spells. We spell words. Play with these things. But really they're vibrations, frequencies, set in motion, reverberations through the body. You start to make those connections. See those sequences? So by this stage, if you're in this contagious chemical high of affinity flow, then what's coming through is just the infinite love of you. As it does, it can come up as a tune, as a melody, as a movement, as a project, as an innovative idea for it to come through you. And the instructions are there. You just have to follow them, express them. So you're just the portal. Your body is just a portal. We're all just portals for this infinite love to come through. Yeah. Different understanding, right? Understanding. You're standing underneath the surface of what we think we are. So yeah, this is the infinite, timeless, spacious vastness of you. Yeah, so if you stay there, it's pretty cool. And then what's the next portal? Aboundedness, the abundance that you are. We are that already. We have it all. Listening to my little bird, can you hear him out here? Yeah, they're just chirping away, sitting on a very fine little branch. Chirp, chirp, chirp. You think that they go, oh my God, I'm going to have to fly and spread my wings? They just surrender. They already intuitively know that they just surrender, the rest will take care of itself, and they'll and they'll be able to move on. Yeah, and he did. So I listen to around here this symphony of birds and my wind chimes, of course. They're so melodic and beautiful. So it's the wind songs that are going through the wind chimes. And I love this. I love where I am. I hope you love where you are. So you can watch this natural flow of nature that's happening around you, within you, of you, as you. Because it just goes on. It's everywhere. We watch the night sky. My sky here is very dark, so I get to see a lot of stars. Oh my goodness, somebody posted the Milky Way. You got just at the Milky Way, not far from here. One night last week, I'm going, oh my goodness, don't need these mega telescopes anymore because I think she took it with her iPhone. Oh my goodness. How cool is that? We have the technology. This is using the inner technology to realize that we're part of everything. We are of the cosmos. The cosmos is within us. Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. And it brings us consciously into the portal of being able to see everything around us. All the forms, appearances of forms, the 1%, but we're seeing with real eyes, we're seeing with our imagination. We know that there's more to everything than meets the eyes now, right? So we see everything in appreciation. So we're in that wonderful loop of appreciation. And we realize that the prime directive is of everything, no matter what it is, no matter what form. Paper. Yes, in a sheet of paper, in a grain of sand. If we really saw with real eyes, we would see infinity in a grain of sand. If we really saw with real eyes, we'd realize that everything's just sparkling. Play with it. Forms are wonderful because it sort of condenses the prime directive into. This is where we are. We're in the dimension of forms. So appreciate yourself. Appreciate the forms around you. Because this is what we have. So yes. So seeing the portal, the portal of appearances, till you see the infinite heart, the infinite love. The infinite love that expresses as all the forms around us, as the cosmos around us, within us. Wow! Get your contagious chemical high. Then you don't need anything. You just need another, another revelation to keep you going. And that'll pull you, compel you, propel you into that because you're already in that groove. Yeah. So surrendering to the allness of life. Just like you do when you fall asleep, just like you did coming into the depths of you, into a greater consciousness of you, the deeper consciousness of you. These words are all interrelatable. They're metaphoric. Find the ones that work for you. And they might change, or you might see the similarities in them. Deep dive. Or where are you deep diving to? Into the cosmos. Into the infinite vastness that you are. Well, where is that? It's in imagination. Well, what's imagination? It's that innate consciousness, specific particle that you are expressing as you. But you are of everything else, to be exactly where you are. For your whole body to know exactly how to be as it is. It has the intelligence, the prime directive of the whole. Oh, wow! Marvel in that. Marvel in the wonderment of life. Surrender to it. The surrender is so awesome. I had a friend who had a shop called Surrender. I figured, wow, is that ever cool? It's a clothing shop. I used to shop there. When I still needed. And then, you know what I did? I wound up bringing a whole pile of things that I had bought from her. They were so beautiful. They were so spectacular. But I knew they were diamond-studded things that they were just incredible. I wound up bringing them back to her when she had a thrift store. And I don't think she even noticed it because somebody else was there when I dropped them off. But it didn't matter. I went, wow, that went full cycle. Oh my goodness. But anyway, surrender. Isn't that a beautiful word, surrender? We're not surrendering to anybody, anything out here, any medication. That's what I used to do. I realized that it wasn't the medication, it wasn't the aspirin that was curing me, it was a surrender. It was a giving in. I knew that if I surrendered to this medication, it would take me below the surface. And that's how I realized, that's how I overcame my migraine headaches. I went on my waterbed and went, oh my, Oh my. Well, I'll just surrender to the depths of me because I couldn't take aspirin anymore. I started vomiting and I went, oh my God, what am I going to take now? I can't take aspirin. Anyway, so I went, well, hang on a sec. What is it that I do for it apparently to work for me, for my migraines to dissolve? I surrendered. Where did I surrender? I surrendered to the depths of me. I thought I was surrendering to this medication, but it was just a surrender. Surrender everything. Just let go of trying to figure things out. And at the deeper essence of you, that invincibility of you, everything dissolves. Because all of that's only surface stuff. It was only the way to get to your depths. So you can go, thank you. I appreciate you. So you can appreciate everything that's going on at the surface as a means to surrender to your depths. How's that? That can be your new mantra, meditation, walking meditation. Try, play with it, check it out, see how it works, let me know. Yeah. So I embrace all that I am. You can literally do that because now you have had the visceral understanding, the visceral experience, the felt experience, hopefully. If you haven't, then backtrack to the beginning and do it over and over till you get this. This is it. The scrunch. You don't have to do it in front of anybody. I'm doing it in front of you because we're taping this, we're having this class. But before you fall asleep, scrunch, hold, and release, and you'll just automatically, everything will fall away. All that you think you are falls away. Deep, deep sleep. When you wake up, do it as you awaken. I watch my kitty. Whoa. Right thing. That's all she ever does. And that's her only exercise. People think that they take their animals for walks. Well, I think the animals take their masters for walks. Let's get out and check this incredible beauty that's around us. But anyway, scrunch and release. Scrunch and release whenever you feel tension. Scrunch and release whenever you think something's against you. Scrunch, hold, and release. You need that hold. You need that. And I didn't do it long enough in here because I didn't want to look too weird. Because I knew I'd feel so awesome after it would take me like forever to start talking again. But scrunch, hold, and release. And don't take yourself high. You don't need anything else. Such an incredible, contagious chemical high. Oh my God. Check it out for yourself. And you're moving as energy. You're not moving as a body, you're moving as the energy that you are. Everything is energy condensed into form. So at the appreciation, acknowledgement, atonement, at the depths of you, you realize you are just this flowing, affinity flow of energy. So you're perceiving yourself differently, you're moving differently. You're moving as this energy. You're the dancer of the dance that's going on. You are the dance, you're the dancer. Oh, and you're the music. So if you allow that, as you listen and you allow that music to come on up and express through you, wow. Does that give you a few innovative ideas of what you can be doing next? With, the foresight of what's there for you, the insight of that's there for you. Yeah. We already have the inspired, innate directive within us of what we are here each to be expressing. But we have to. We need to. Surrender. And be still. Be silent. Be still. There's another neat little post that's one of my favorites. I need to go on a long journey, so I sat still for 3 days. Done that so many times, especially in these last 3 years. Oh my goodness. This has been an incredible time for me. Totally incredible. In every way. Totally every way. Because I've needed to sit still. I've needed the silence. And if you can give yourself that space, oh my goodness, there's a pandemic. I need to be still. I need to isolate. Cool. How wonderful. Allow yourself. You can always ask, what prevents me from doing that? What prevents you from taking time out? What prevents you from surrendering? Got to keep going? No, that's surface stuff. That's exactly the stuff you need to surrender inward. Let go of the surface to come from your inner knowing. So that's been us bringing everything together. And the more you can give this your attention, your depth, moving as energy, appreciation. Appreciate anything and everything. And do it over and over till you start to feel that love, and that love magnifies, intensifies, and you start to realize that there's just infinite love, and everything is infinite love, individualized, and you are that. Wow. There's nothing greater. Well, so far. There's nothing greater. You want that so you can actually hear and intuit and allow your innovative ideas to come through you. Because that's your power. That's your superpower. Because you've always been the invincibility that you are, essentially. Thank you for being here. Love you dearly. I'll shut this one off first. Cheers.